Welcome back to the Sifra channel. My name is Amjad. Today we'll be making خلية نحل. This translates to the bee's hive, and it's called that because it looks like a bee's hive. Now, each of these round dough balls are filled with cream cheese, and right when it comes out of the oven, it's doused in honey. It's absolutely delicious. There are many different recipes out there, more fluffy textures, crunchy textures. Mine is something in the middle. There's a bite to it, but it's nice and moist and fluffy on the inside. So let's get into it. Oh, and please don't forget to subscribe. So I'm starting off with some warm water in which I'm adding some sugar. Today I'm using some light brown organic sugar, doesn't matter which one you use. And with my yeast, I'm just sprinkling it on to the surface so that it absorbs as much moisture as possible. Then I'm going to give it a gentle mix and set it aside, allow it to do its magic. You'll quickly start to see it frothing up and bubbling up to the surface. So while the yeast is doing its thing, I'm going to use my stand mixer's bowl and combine 3 cups of white flour as well as 1.5 cups of wheat flour. Now, don't worry, all the measurements will be down below. I'm also adding some salt and giving this a quick mix before I hook it up to the machine. So if you do have a stand mixer, I highly recommend you use the spiral attachment. If you don't, you can technically use your hands. It will require some elbow grease, but it's definitely possible, and it's how it was made traditionally anyways. So start your machine on medium-low speed so that your flour doesn't get all over the place. And first we will add our yeast and water mixture, followed by our milk, and doesn't matter if it's whole milk, skim milk, and again, measurements will all be down below. Next, I'm adding some additional water. Now, again, I really prefer the water to be warm, and this will help your dough double in size a lot quicker than it typically would. Next, we're gradually adding some extra virgin olive oil. I definitely don't recommend swapping this out for a different type of vegetable oil. It really contributes to the dough's taste. And lastly, we are adding 1 whipped egg. Well, not whipped, whisked. Now, flours vary, especially since we're using a mix of wheat and white. And so here I felt like it needed a little bit more. So I just added 2 tablespoons so that it's not as watery. Now use a spatula and bring it down the sides because it is a little bit sticky. And then I'm going to continue to whip it and make sure that it is getting nice and fluffy. Now that little teaspoon drizzle of olive oil will just help it keep off the sides because it's not a stiff dough where it will naturally release. So after whipping it for about, I would say this is a total of 3 minutes, we'll just turn that off and again scrape down the sides and cover it up and let it double in size. Now it's been about 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm going to prepare my surface by generously flouring it, dumping the dough right on top, sprinkling a little bit more flour, and I'm gonna knead it. Now, as you take it out of the bowl, you'll notice it's still pretty sticky, so that extra flour will help you handle it a lot easier. If you feel like it's still too sticky, just sprinkle on another 1/2 tablespoon of flour, no big deal. And about 3 minutes, 5 minutes into doing this, the dough should be soft and pliable. So I'm going to start off by oiling my fingers just to make handling the dough a little bit easier. And I'm going to take small circles and lay them out just to make the filling process a little bit easier. Once I have a bunch on my counter, I'm going to flatten them in my palm, put some cream cheese in there, a generous amount because you want a good bite of cheese within each ball, and close it up, roll it up, and place it on a greased round baking dish. If you don't have a round baking dish, I guess a rectangular one would work just fine. Just make sure you spray it down with nonstick oil. Now you want to repeat this process over and over and over until you've filled your pan completely. In terms of arrangement, you don't have to keep them too far away from each other. We actually do want them to grow into one another and create that honeycomb look. So I'm taking 1 egg, whisking that up and brushing it all over my dough balls. And you want to make sure that you don't miss anything because this is what's going to give your bees hive or خلية نحل, that beautiful golden color once it's fully baked. Next, just using the end of your finger, dip it in a little bit of the egg wash to create some stickiness, and then tap some black Nigella seeds onto each and every single dough ball. If you don't have black Nigella seeds, I highly recommend you get some because it really gives it a nice flavor. If for any reason you can't find any, you can do some sesame seeds. Some people like to even mix the two and add them together. It creates a really beautiful look. Now these are ready to go into the oven. They're going to go into a 350-degree preheated oven, and I just want you to watch it and cook it, I would say about 30 to 45 minutes, but really pay attention to once they're golden brown, just like this. And I actually cooked it a little bit less because I still like it to be soft, whereas my mom would probably leave it in another 10 minutes to get very golden brown and kind of crunchy. So it just depends on your texture preference. And right when it comes out of the oven and it's still hot, this is when you want to drizzle on a lot of honey. This is what makes this dish sweet and iconic, and by adding the honey when it's still warm, it will kind of melt through. And as it melts and it's nice and liquidy, just twist and turn that dish just until every single crevice is filled with honey. If you feel like it soaked it up, just add a little bit more. There isn't really a certain amount or measurement that I'll give you, but you just want to coat it entirely. Now this is definitely a family favorite because my dad couldn't help himself and he already started eating before I was filming. But anyways, I wanted you guys to take a look at how beautiful the inside is. Each one has a nice amount of cream cheese, so make sure you don't skimp on that. And then you'll just be dipping it constantly in the honey because it's so delicious. Beware, they are addictive. They're delicious warm, room temperature. You can always reheat them in the toaster. Enjoy them for breakfast. This is a great dessert. Everyone will be obsessed. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to subscribe.